Welcome back, everyone, to the Mo Money, Mo Problems podcast, the podcast dedicated to the trials, triumphs, and insights of green industry business owners. I'm your host, Matt Foreman, and today we have with us Dr. Brandon Olson of Olson Outdoors out in Broomfield, Colorado. Brandon, pumped to have you here today.
Hey, Matt, great to see you again. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Of course, of course. All right, so Brandon, I know you've got a pretty unique story. You're not just running a landscaping company, you are also balancing that with a background in archaeology and teaching. But let's start on the green side of things. Can you give us a backstory on Olson Outdoors? How did it all begin, and what kind of work are you guys doing out there in Broomfield these days?
Yeah, great. So, at Olson Outdoors, we started in 2014. Came out of a natural extension of not having a job in Denver after wrapping up my studies. My wife and I were dedicated to getting back to the Denver area, and I had a tenure track job at Tufts, which would have kept me in Boston, and I love Boston, but I love Denver more. It's where my family is, my wife's family. So we made the move, turned down that job, came to Denver. And got in back in with the family and everything. And of course, there's always the question of, hey, you got to sustain your family, right? So that's where the business started. It started kind of as a side hustle just to get some money in the pocket and pay those bills before the teaching gig came. Um, and really, my background in the industry, all the way back, my dad started a lawn care company back when I was about 9. So I worked with him with that until I went to college. So had the background, grew up on a farm, kind of had that blue collar background, and knew that would be something that would definitely pay the bills. So we started that in 2014, and been kind of running strong ever since. Funny side story is in 2014 when we started, about a month after getting here, I got the job offer for the academic side of things. So
Naturally.
was it's kind of one of those things like, gosh, do we wrap up the business and focus on the academics? And the answer to that was clearly no. The business was doing great. I was having a great time doing it. So we went all in on both sides with that. And then, basically kind of our service offerings and what we do down here in Colorado, your basic maintenance stuff, residential, commercial, government. And then we do landscaping, everything from design builds, reclamation projects, drainage, erosion control, things like that. Obviously, irrigation, herbicide stuff. We just recently this year got into goat grazing. Happy to chat about that a little later as well. It's something that's another offering that we took on that's been exciting and new and fun. So almost 11 years, be our 11th birthday here in February. So just really excited to continue to do work and really kind of get our message out on various platforms. So we appreciate the opportunity to do that here, Matt.
I love it. I love it. So, if you think back to 2014, right? That's when we got started. What was your early introduction into actually getting any work? I know you've kind of had experience kind of growing up into it, but how'd you get your first clients? Like, where'd the first money come in from?
Well, when we decided to start, we had a couple of things kind of fall into our favor. So the first thing, obviously, was me kind of rolling in and having starting out with basically an employee that became a really good buddy of mine who's still with the company now. And the second part of kind of what was beneficial to us is we had a kind of a large service provider in the area go out of business. So we knew that there was kind of an opportunity in the market. So it started out with a little, obviously, various municipalities and cities have these little like local publications about what's going on in the city, and then there's local classified ads. So we started there. We started out in that first week. I think we had 5 mowing clients. Buddy and I, we hopped in with a borrowed truck from my dad and a couple of lawnmowers that were what we needed to fix them and got them up and running. And we did those 5. And our kind of approach to that was we knew that the bar was pretty low in the service industry. So we knew if we showed up on time, we did a great job, we communicated that it would grow from there. And so that 5 by the end of the year turned into about 30. So okay growth, but our primary means of kind of getting our message out and letting everybody know about our business was through that kind of those little local publications. We'd spend $60 for the month. That's about what we could afford, and kind of grew from there.
Okay. So sounds like you started mowing lawns to start out. When did things really start? When did you start adding things related to like the design build side?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it was always kind of that question. We started out as Olson Lawn Care, and that,
Okay.
in hindsight, we definitely know that definitely pigeonholed us into the maintenance realm.
Hmm.
We would supplement with early on. We would supplement clients with, hey, can you fix this retaining wall? Like, hey, can you cut this tree down? Hey, I'm having this irrigation problem. So we knew that we wanted to kind of get into that space, but just logistically, we didn't have what we need. We didn't have the tools. I mean, I had the expertise was there, sure, but the tools and the backing and that reputation we just didn't have. So really, it was that second year we started taking on projects with clients, and then we started advertising landscaping, and then that kind of grew organically from there.
Okay. What did when you say you advertise landscaping, what did you guys do at
Mhm.
that point? Like a lot of people are very interested in going from being a single service business in like lawn care, lawn maintenance into moving into design build, but it's not always the easiest transition. So like what were you doing to really start letting people know like, hey, we're gonna start doing design build and if what you're saying if I'm gathering this correctly, you were still technically Olson Lawn Care at this point, right?
Right. Yep. So what we ended up doing, we rebranded. So 2017, we rebranded Olson Outdoors.
Okay.
We then continued because it was working for us, the little local publication stuff, and then we got in with that mailing service Valpak, where
Okay.
basically
Yeah.
this I'm sure you all know they
Yeah.
an envelope goes out with a bunch of coupons, and we worked with a professional designer to get an ad put together that was super professional. We then sent that out. We got a bunch of leads, translated to a bunch of jobs, and then we got hooked up. We ended up getting a job with a landscape designer. So we went out and fixed her patio and did some stuff for her, fixed her fence. And the one thing we were working on is there's this tree that she wanted trimmed, and it opened up to this beautiful open space area. And I trimmed the tree for health, and obviously there's the aesthetic side of things. And I'm just looking at this tree like, gosh, there's this branch where I'm just not sure because her kitchen window is overlooking this beautiful open space. And if I cut this, is it going to open up and create a problem with privacy, or does she want that open up to really look and enjoy the open space? So I kind of knocked on her door and said, hey, got this question for you. She went over to her kitchen window, and I grabbed that branch like it's this one, and she did this. Like, all right, cool. So she wants to leave the branch. We wrapped up, finished that job, and then she came to me. She's like, the fact that you were so thoughtful and thinking about that really, really showed me what your company is about. So that then, I mean, we then catapulted, and we created a great partnership with her. Did massive six-figure installs. We got published for some of those jobs. So that was a big launching point for us, just having that thought of, should I cut this branch or not? You know what? Let's have a conversation.
Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, just a single branch can really elevate you into what you ultimately have become and are where you're going right now. So um what are what are some of the challenges right now? Because right now you were still offering lawn care services, right? Your lawn maintenance services.
Yep.
So what are the challenges right now in balancing that? Obviously balancing different crews, different things that you're offering. You're not just sending a bunch of guys out in the trucks to mow some lawns anymore. There's probably a lot more balancing and customization to this.
Yeah, really scaling was the big issue. So we got in. So thinking systematically about all this stuff, like, okay, looking at our business and these divisions, what are they doing revenue wise? What do our margins look like? A lot of thought went into that. And there's the logistics side of it. You got to hire good guys that can be reliable to make sure that the mowing is taken care of, and you have to have good guys that are experienced that can do the landscaping side. So there's obviously it's an industry issue where hiring is always a difficult thing. So we made sure to train up the guys and make sure the work was being done. I was still an active owner. I'm obviously an active owner, but I was active in the field, still running a crew, going that route with things. But we got to that point where it was kind of decision time, and it was like, gosh, this landscaping is so lucrative. And it almost got to the point where the residential maintenance, not so much the commercial government, but the residential maintenance almost became a little bit of a bother. And so I sat down and looked at the numbers and like, gosh, the least, we're still making money, but the margins on mowing versus design build are, I mean, they're not even comparable. So I really thought about, all right, what do we do with this residential side? Do we just sell this off and really focus on landscaping? And the numbers were there. The numbers for that year were saying, yep, definitely do that. So then I actually pulled my wife in and we had a conversation like, I'm thinking that the maintenance side, we definitely should move away from this, take all of our resources and go all in on landscaping. And my wife in her infinite wisdom was like, no, that's stupid. Don't do that. Like, what are you talking about? The numbers are here. And she's like, but that's a regular paycheck. Landscaping is not. And like, me, oh, well, the numbers, okay, all right, fine. Well, okay, I'll listen to you, fine, okay. It was it would have been the worst decision we ever made, because then, markets change a little bit. There's only so much landscaping that can go around, and the landscaping kind of, I thought I was going to continue to do this, and then it kind of did this, where it's still going
Mhm.
up, but not at the rate that first year said. So the numbers for that first year versus, aggregated over 3 years was very different.
Yeah,
So those were the big kind of decisions. They're kind of make or break. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you get a smart wife to tell you what to do, and other times you just keep your head to the grindstone and just keep working, and it all works out.
for sure. Yeah, how about like the maintenance clients in terms of upselling them though too? I mean, it sounds like that's kind of how you even got into the design build side to get started because people were
Yeah.
asking about retaining walls, irrigation, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see that if you were to let go of those recurring clients, then they're going to go elsewhere for when they inevitably need something related to landscape design and build. So I think, yeah, if you were to get rid of that maintenance side of things, yeah, you're losing the steady stream, the predictable income, but you're also losing a channel that you already have in terms of like new work, relationships built, and that upsell opportunity. So I think it's a great idea to not get rid of it, despite the
Oh.
margins. Yeah, it's sometimes it's not as just black and white as like, oh, money in, money out, margins and all that stuff. There's a lot of other different nuances that definitely come into play there.
Yeah, I mean, it's so critical now to our operations where we have 450, 500 of these regular clients that we work with. We have 1,000, the kind of one-off clients. And, on the landscaping side, if we're not bid out for at least 6 weeks and we start to get, oh, we're only, we have jobs on the books for about 4 weeks, it's one email to that group of people reminding you like, hey, we're doing landscaping.
Hmm.
We have an offer on trees that we can provide you tree lawn and, nice short directed email. And those 1,500 emails turn into three or 400 leads, or those 300 or 400 leads with recurring clients that know who we are. That's easily 250 jobs right there. Then boom, we're out again for another 2 months. It's such a
Right.
great pot to reach back into.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I get it. I get that the design build, definitely the nice shinier numbers, but it oftentimes it can be fueled by your maintenance division too. So it's having that 1-2 punch is, I mean, it's just gonna keep you sustained forever. Hopefully.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So, how about like, okay, so you're scaling your company up. Obviously, you can't be everywhere. You can't, also, you can't always be checking on the maintenance crews while also, monitoring like the custom design builds, especially if one thing's on one side of your service area and the other thing's on the other. So, how do you, or how has it been scaling and maintaining a high level of craftsmanship with everything that you do, especially with your brand on the line?
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. Our brand is our identity, and
Mhm.
our identity is equals craftsmanship. So
And sorry to interrupt, but you also have your name in the that's an even higher tier of like credibility that you're putting on it. So
right, and we literally put my name on every project we do. So, I mean,
great.
it all starts with basic training, right? So when whether it's mowing, whether it's the full design build, or whether it's just going out and planting a tree, we're doing that with the utmost quality and care because that's what built this business. And so the message to anybody, whether it's a first year guy that's a secondary person on a mowing crew versus a manager that's been with me for almost 11 years, it's the message is the same.
Mhm.
Like, hey, if we're having to think about margins versus quality, quality is there. So even if it takes a little extra time, that margin drops by 2, 3, 4, 5%. It is what it is. You do that, you really push and focus on the quality side, and it becomes a really training and systematizing and automation. And so for me in the field, having making sure that I know how to do every single thing that we offer as a company at a high level, training people to do that, dealing with personnel issues, making sure the crews are gelling correctly and they're scheduled out correctly and all this stuff are so key. For us, one of the pain points beginning really kind of towards the end of last year and this year, we have a standalone office, and the office is great and it's trained, but when you're dealing with hundreds of emails, and I mean, depending on the part of the season, easily hundreds of phone calls a day, that's the point where we're having a bottleneck. So that's obviously when we reached out with you and had great conversations and putting all these wonderful systems in place to get as well as the field is automated and just is able to run, and I'm able to just essentially do QC and have meetings and coordinate.
Mhm.
Having that same level of fluency there as in the office has been something we're really working towards.
Well, was this some of these things, I mean, stemmed from issues that did they like lead to like bigger things? Like, did you ever have like a project that kind of like went sideways or anything that you're like, oh man, this is like we got to fix this?
Yeah, I mean, we've had as everybody has. There's learning curves there.
Hmm.
So on the training aspect, I think the one thing that I took for granted in all of this is the importance of a really solid client interaction from the very initial contact to the office, through taking that lead and doing a site visit, to taking that site visit, doing a cost estimate, and then from there getting that approved. That first kind of 3/4 of that cycle we really needed to work on, because in the beginning it was just me. I was doing it. I can go talk with the client. I can tell them, really gauge. Like I'm walking up to a client's house for a cost estimate, and I'm looking at the house. Like, okay, they got a new roof now. They got new concrete. All right, this is a client that's really looking to spend some money and really looking to upgrade what they have going on. Having a conversation with them. Are they taking control of the conversation and telling me what they want, or are they relying on me to tell them what they should have?
Hmm.
How much do I need to educate them on the HOA process and approval? All of these things that just were kind of intuitive to me from being in the business. When I turn that over to somebody who's been in the field working, I
Yeah.
mean, that gap is
Tough.
huge.
Tough.
And so it's the training of that, like, hey, you're shadowing me for 3 months doing this. You're taking notes on what I'm doing. I'm not saying that I'm doing it perfect, but I got my closing rate is great. I'm not expecting you to get that for a while, but these are the things that I do to try to put things in our favor for closing. And
Hmm.
so, a cautionary tale, sent him out. He rolled out on an estimate to do a full irrigation system install. And so he knew the questions they needed to ask. He knew, how long things take, what our water source is going to be, how big it's going to be, how many zones, heads, all that great stuff. So he did it. He worked up the estimate, sent it out. And this is kind of maybe 2 weeks after, like, hey, I don't have to look at exactly every nitpicking thing on your estimates anymore. You kind of know where you're rolling, go with those. And this guy is amazing with retaining walls, patios, all this stuff. Irrigation, not as well as those other things. So he sent that bid out, and that bid was about a third of what it should have been.
Oof.
Client accepted it. He just felt terrible, and I'm like, hey, that I'm not worried about it, right? So this is you learning, and this
Yeah.
is me paying part of your education. So you're going to go out and you're going to put the best irrigation system in there. You're not going to talk to the client one bit about cost. You're going to go out and do it perfect. After that, I'll follow up with the client. And that's what he did. He rolled out, did the job absolutely perfect. We took a freaking bath in that job. And I went and talked to the client, and I just said, hey, everything looking good. This is how your clock works. This is how you should water, water restrictions, all these things. And I said, just FYI, the cost here is not, there's a little mistake made in the bidding process. I'm going to preemptively, before we even start talking, I'm going to say, I'm not asking for more money. If you offer it, I'm not going to take it. The only reason I'm doing this is if your neighbor asks, hey, what went into that system?
Yeah.
That pricing that you have is inaccurate, but we appreciate everything you've done. We appreciate the job, but I will not take any money. Oh, I feel bad. No, I'm just doing this now just in case word of mouth spreads, as it always does. That the quality is there, just that cost was a little off. Wonderful lady, 5-star review. All these wonderful things came out of it, and we have a client for life out of it. So
Yeah.
had that he felt bad about it, had the conversation like, hey, there's more to just the margin. There's this client that's going to speak our praises forever, that's going to call us back if we need anything. That's far more valuable than losing 4 or 5 grand on the job.
That's right. I love the way that you framed it because it's so true. And honestly, what a great leader mentality where you said this is just the cost of education. Because yeah, he learned. I'm sure he won't make that mistake again.
Never again.
But yeah, and so that's an incredible way to frame it. I love that a lot. So yeah, kudos to you. And so with I mean being a great leader, it sounds like I'm sure your team like really kind of reveres you and loves having you at the helm there. How has it been in finding and retaining work? It's just kind of like an industry wide issue. Sure, there are differences in like where you're at location wise, but like how has employment and retention been for you, and like what kind of what do you see works best when it comes to retention?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it depends on the year, really. I mean, goodness,
Mm,
2020, 2021, COVID, I could not pay anybody enough money to take a job. I mean, the workforce was just down to nothing hardly, and so at that point we had to make a decision. And so sat down doing research, what are companies doing, and all this, just putting the nerdy academic hat on, and just all right, well, let's research it to see how people have fixed this problem, even
mhm,
though there's not a lot of research out there right now on how to fix the COVID problem, but just generally labor shortage. What does that look like? And of course, it's finding good people and retaining them. Oh yeah, of course it is. We're finding good people and retaining them. How do you find people? If I can get them in the door and they have a good work ethic, I know I can retain them. And we have lots of people that work with us for a really long time. They don't have the work ethic, or if they don't have that care to detail, we don't sugarcoat it. If you roll in and we've given you all the training and you're not following that training system, we don't have a job for you. So we move on. So in the 2020, 2021, part of our business also is we're a nursery. So we sell plants wholesale, we grow stuff, we bring stuff in from other growers. And that gives us an ag designation. So with that ag designation, and then we started up with toying around with goats. Because it was key for us to create a very clear, delineated ag-based component to our business, because that opened up opportunities for us. So on the goat side, we collect all of our grass clippings, and then we would take them to a recycling place. That recycling place continued to jack up the rates to where we were paying about $75 a truck to dump every single time. We have 5, 6 trucks out there dumping upwards of twice a day, so that became a significant expense. So we started thinking, how do we deal with this? And then like, oh, wait a minute. All right. Well, this company eventually they ended up getting bought out and they didn't do the recycling anymore. So we had mountains of these clippings and yard waste that we had to figure out what to do. Hey, grew up on a farm, had goats. So we ended up buying some goats, leasing a property, and the goats ate all that stuff up. So that then further bolstered our identity as an ag-based business as well. So with that, that opened the door up for us to interact with the H2A program. So H2A program, we put in our application saying, hey, this facet of our business is ag. We need labor force on this ag side of our business. So then we can take those other guys and put them on the non-ag side. And so that was the game changer for us. It all came down at one of our suppliers in Oklahoma. I went and visited because we had put a big order in and wanted to see the plants and what was coming in and their shipping and their logistics to make sure we were going to place that order. We went there and it was run like clockwork. And I'm looking around like, man, we're in the middle of Oklahoma, this town that's associated with this particular grower. I mean, I don't know, maybe 1,500 people at most. And they got to have 1,000 employees here. I mean, what's going on? So sat down, talked with the owner about it, like, man, logistically, how do you make this work? And then he explained how that egg program worked. It's like, as long as you have an egg side, you're employing H2A workers on that egg side, you're all good. And so that's what we implemented in 2020. And it was great. We were able to get 8 guys that were there, wearing and tearing, willing to work, brought them over on work visas, paid all of our taxes, did it all the right way. And that alleviated some of our pinch points on the employee side that allowed us to put up guys who are out doing landscaping, which has nothing to do with ag. We had our guys there for that.
mhm.
Um, so that solved our issue. Then here by 2023, our experience in the Colorado area, by 2023, everybody wanted a job. So it's like, oh, okay, great. We're finally back to that now where we would go and beg people to apply for jobs to now we're getting 30, 40 applicants a month in the high season. So, we weed through those. We have very extensive interviews, working interviews, and through those working interviews, by the end of the day, you kind of know if it's going to be a fit or not.
Sure. Awesome. I love that. Yeah, you definitely have the research and educator hat on for that. So Really cool. What's the I know you're going through that whole visa process and getting them, but like where are you ultimately well, okay, maybe not so much anymore, but at the time, where were you even getting those early introductions for like quality work?
So on the H2A side or
Yeah.
oh yeah, on the H2A side, we basically hired an immigration lawyer saying, hey, this is what we do. We want to make sure we're compliant. So we hired that firm to then of course do all the paperwork because I would anybody interested in doing that, I would not recommend doing that paperwork. You mess up one thing, you're done. The process takes 2 to 3 months of the application itself. You have to get that application in. Our attorney had advised us at minimum 4 months beforehand. So there's a lot of lead up, and if you mess that up, it completely messes up your next growing season. So I'm always a fan of finding people that are really great at their jobs, and this firm was wonderful. Before, as we were interviewing them, we asked like, "Hey, do you have a contact somewhere? We don't care where the labor force is coming from, but we do want to bring in people that are connected. We don't want one person from one village, another person from another country. We want to bring in a community." And so they had a labor contractor down, in our case in Mexico. That labor contractor reached out to us, said, "Hey, we're working with a family that's based outside of Monterey," and that's how we got it. And anytime we're increasing that number, we're saying, "Hey, we want brothers, we want cousins, we want nephews, we want nieces, whatever the case is, because we want that nice close knit family." Because
Hmm.
it's as cliche as it is, that's how we run the place.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. It's maybe there's never a 100% resolution for everything that could be so ironclad, but it sounds like you really got this pain point, which again just really hurts so many businesses across the US. It sounds like you really got it resolved for yours.
Yeah, we worked hard to do that, and I think we're in a great spot now where we do have a great pool of local, a great pool of H2A, and the flip side of that is the H2B, and that was how do we set our company up to compete better with some of these bigger national companies? And for us, it was instead of doing the H2B contractor side of bringing in workers, which it's never guaranteed. If you put the application in, you might get none, you might get all you ask for, you might get one or two. The wonderful side to the program is on the H2A, on the egg side, it's a guarantee. As long as you're 100% compliant, you're doing all the inspections, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of cost up front, but in the end, you're getting great, reliable people that work well together, that need very little instruction. And when they're trained to do something and told to do it a certain way, very rarely is there any deviation from that.
Amazing. Okay, so I am interested in the goat grazing, so I want to ask you about that shortly, but you did also mention that you run a nursery as well. Is that right?
Right. Yep. Yep. We have a plant nursery.
Cool. So, what's when did that come about? And do you recommend it?
Yeah, great question. So that came about for us in 2019. Our big thing was, we would go to our various vendors, and we have really great vendors in Colorado. We have some not so great ones. The difficulty was always going in and rolling in like, hey, I need 75 barberries and I need 15 Chanticleer pears. Well, I have five Chanticleer pears, but I have some Bradford pears that look kind of close. And, the barberries, it's out of season or we don't have them, or hey, we can get an order in. And it became a supply issue for us.
Mhm.
And I had a great connection with one of my best friends that I met when I was doing my undergrad work down in Fort Lewis, Colorado. His dad ran a big nursery. He's actually a grower that sold to nurseries. And I just a good buddy of mine, we're out and hanging out, and I just said, hey, I'm having this issue. And he's like, ah, you got to talk to my dad. So I talked to his dad, who ran this nursery, and said, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. He's like, oh yeah, here's your sales rep for your area. Whatever you need, here's the pricing and everything. And obviously, buying from a grower is very economically advantageous than even to a wholesaler. So sat down and met with him for a while and just said, hey, what are some of the pitfalls that you see as a grower who has 250 acres? Obviously I'll be bringing this stuff in on the nursery side. Logistically, what should that look like? And he said, the big things for you in your part of the world, it's going to be regular water, drainage, and cover. So like, okay, all right, we can kind of work with that. So we ended up working on the property that we have now for our yard, setting up 3 greenhouses there. At my property, where I have my house, we set up a really massive tree area that has drainage, what's called pot and pot. And then we made our first order. So we had 2 big semis come out with various plants that we sell constantly, as well as trees. Got them all set up, got them irrigated, and they were there, which is wonderful. So every design build job we ever had, it's like, hey, we plant these types of plants. If you want other plants, we can procure those for you, but obviously the pricing point on that is going to be a little bigger. We will only grow stuff it's that plants and species that are local to Colorado that we know will grow in our soils and our climate. And so that worked great. I was partnering up, at the time, our finance manager was somebody that was very interested in that. So we ended up kind of partnering up in that a little bit, where I had the logistics side and he would work kind of on the backside in sales. And so it was great. It worked well. So many different things to consider. We got registered with the state. We had various audits that took place. You got to worry about your insecticide stuff, your spray, your fertilizers, watering, all of that. So those were things that we knew we had to do, which of course add up in all the cost of things. And so, yeah, it was great. That first year we sold about 60% of our stock, and then we went into the winter months. So everything got wintered in. That next growing season, as stuff was animating, we had about, of that stock, we probably lost about 15%, which industry standard seems pretty normal. But the thing that I didn't take into consideration were the trees. I mean, we had 350 trees. We had sold maybe 80 of them that first year. For that second year, we had about 70 or so sold. But then by the third year of being in that pot and pot, so basically the tree's coming up 15-gallon pot, that pot is put into a pot that's in the ground. Under that is a drainage. After that period, after that, certainly by that third year, the trees started to turn a little bit, where they weren't growing as lush and nice as they were in previous years. Obviously, they were root bound. So we ended up just doing a fire sale on those, getting rid of those. What that first year and that 2 semi loads taught us is, hey, this works. That quantity that we brought in, though, we need to cut that by about half. So every year since, we bring about half of that amount, about a semi load. We make it through. We do a fire sale in the fall to knock all of everything out, so we're not wintering anything. That was the big learning curve for us.
Great. Is this nursery open to the public, or is it just for your clients' consumptions? Like when you're selling projects?
Yep, great question. So what we do is we use in all of our design builds, and we kind of do the fire sale. That's when we reach out to that client pool of 1,500 and say, hey, we got plants on sale. We can plant it for you, or we can deliver them. And that's how we roll with that. We haven't. So we did have plans to kind of do a set aside and open that up more on the public side of things. Unfortunately, my finance manager, again, an amazing friend that I kind of pulled out of academia to help me in this business, he ended up passing away from COVID. So
Wow.
that put the damper on things again, obviously on the personal side of things, but on the business side. So we've scaled back to now just keep stock for our clients and our design builds.
Okay. So when you do those fire sales, what's your primary channel to get those out? Is it just like, hey, we're already on the job, let's just let them know, or is that like an email blast, text message blast?
Yeah, it's an email blast.
Okay.
We'll send it out, at most 20% reach back out. Of those 20%, 10 to 15%, we're able to get rid of most of our stock.
Okay. Awesome. Good. And what time of year is that usually for you?
That we usually hit that up in late September.
So I'm very curious. Being in Florida, I'm obviously not too familiar with seasonality of things, but so
Sure.
you're selling these plants in September. Probably going to be getting cold pretty soon.
Yep.
Do they survive through the winter? Like,
Yeah, so our big thing is when we send them, we give them a care manual.
okay,
So if they go out in September, it's like, hey, get them in the ground now.
okay,
Or if you don't have the time to do that, keep them in the pots, water them, wait for them to defoliate, wait for the first freeze, then put them in the ground.
gotcha.
Um, we tell them not to winter them in pots. We definitely want them in the ground so they can winter out, and then that gives them the best shot of, hey, here it's wintered in the ground, soil temperatures are warming up. Let's see what the plants do from there.
Gotcha. So since we're just on the topic of the winter and weather, when does Olson Outdoors see kind of a downward trend in terms of like work being performed, obviously new calls coming in, um,
Yeah.
leading into the winter.
Yeah, so for us, we have basically September. So once we wrap up August, September hits and it's crazy, and I'm sure it's different in different areas, but we go absolutely gangbusters March, April, May until the first half of June. Then after we're doing this, then we have this from June, July, August, and then September comes, September does this, and then October, November does this, and then by Thanksgiving, boom, down.
Yep.
Um,
Right at Thanksgiving.
Across
Every
the board, yeah. So for us, what we do is we obviously the services that we offer our residential maintenance clients, it's not just mowing. We're running the gamut. We're offering them everything, including or what we would call fall early winter services. So things like irrigation, winterization, fall aeration, winterizer fertilization, winter overseeding. The pre-emergent stuff, we'll do that in February. And then fall cleanup. And with fall cleanup, we ask clients, we have some clients that, hey, I don't want you out here until all my leaves are on the ground. That's usually for us in and around Thanksgiving. Or I want two. I want one now, and I want one after everything's fell to the ground. What that does for us is when we finish mowing in the middle of October, we're able to transition immediately into the aeration, the fert, the overseeding cycle. And then that will run for us full 4 or 5 crews. That'll run probably 2 or 3 weeks for us. While that's happening in Colorado, just super volatile as far as when we get our first freeze. I mean, we can get our first snow. We've had snow in late September before. It's crazy here.
Mhm.
But on average, around the third week in October is when we'll start in earnest, really hitting hard the winterizations on the sprinkler side of things. And it's tough. You don't want to do it too early. You certainly don't want to do it too late. And we just let our clients know, like, hey, you're on the list for a sprinkler winterization. We have 400 of these to do. It's going to take us 2, 3 weeks to do this. We would rather err on the side of caution and doing it a little earlier than definitely doing it after it's frozen, have to thaw out things. So that
Mhm.
then carries us into November, and then we have our cleanups. We do between 300 and 400 cleanups for clients. Sometimes clients want two, sometimes they want three. That carries us through easily early-ish to mid-December. The great thing about Colorado is when it snows, our first snow, it may not even stick. The next day it's gone. And that's kind of the cycle we see. Even like heavier storms in November, 2 or 3 days later, it's warm enough, things burn off. So we're able to get back to the cleanups. So cleanups, we kind of wrap up that part of the season in early to no later than mid-December. It's at that point that the H2A guys, they head back as well. And then we have our crew then by just say between the 1st and the 15th of December, we're pretty much done with maintenance.
Hmm.
And so that's our end time. Um, Before that, obviously, in October, that's when our snow removal contracts start. We do commercial and government snow removal. So that starts in October and that continues through May for us. But again, it's hit and miss. Obviously, snow sometimes in Colorado on average, Denver, we get about between 75 and 80 inches of snow. Sometimes we get 30 of those inches in one snowstorm. We can go 1 or 2 months in the middle of the season with no snow. So our snow contracts, we have different types. Certain snow contracts are a base rate per month. Okay, it doesn't matter if we have 15 blizzards in one month or it doesn't snow in that month, we're going to get paid. Other contracts are pay per hour, and others are pay per push. That allows us to kind of spread the peanut butter, so to speak, across the season where we're not in feast and famine mode.
Those snow contracts, are they all commercial?
Commercial and government, yep.
Yeah. Oh, and
We've
government.
we
That's right.
Yeah, we've tried. I mean, the residential side, I mean, even with our really tight route density, other companies can make it work. I don't know what their magic sauce is. It's just not profitable for us, so it's not
Sure.
anything that we offer.
Sure. So it sounds like there's not really a time of the year where your trucks are just not moving, at least predictably. You can't say like, hey, during this time we're just doing nothing. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's a different fleet. I mean, obviously, all of our maintenance
Sure.
stuff then goes in to be winterized and all repairs done, maintenance done. And then we have our plow trucks and our ATVs and snow raiders and all that stuff ready to go. We've toyed around with the Christmas light side of things. But for us, obviously, Christmas lighting, that people want that up by early November, certainly no
Mm.
later than Thanksgiving, and we're just right in the meat of our cleanups. And the cost side of things and the margins are so much better on the cleanups than they are with the Christmas lighting. So we that's not anything that we have really explored in significant detail.
Sure. Yeah, actually, the Christmas lights is the one thing that I do make recommendations for those companies, especially out in the Northeast, where they can't have a predictable snow cycle.
Hmm.
At least in Colorado, it sounds like, I mean, yeah, you know how many inches you're going to get, and it's going to be there. I mean, we have clients out in Michigan, where one year, yeah, it'll be 50, 60 inches, and then the next year it'll never stick. And so it's one of those things that it's like, yeah, you can't really predictably run something like that. So, and the thing is, a lot of our clients, I mean, they are trying to staff a crew year round. And that's obviously gets real dicey. That's what we see. The hardest part for some of like the industry up north to, no pun intended, weather the winter. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, I mean, you sound like you've obviously got that all locked in with, I mean, great location to have year-round services and everything. Um, Again, very different, let's say in Florida, because I mean, the grass is always growing here, let's be real. So it's one of those things. You said your H2A crews leave, is that right?
Yeah, we have them. We bring them out between March 15th and 30th, and then they go
Okay.
home between November 15th and December 1st.
Okay. Okay.
So that
And
helps for us. I mean, that's
yeah,
good
I
and
would say
bad.
so.
Yeah, it's good that, they go back to their families with significant money. On the flip side of that, though, it brings us down and puts a little added pressure on the crews for the snow removal. Because it's like,
Mm,
what do we do? Do we hire another three or four guys and then not need those individuals? And
yeah.
and so that's a very delicate balance. It leads to some interesting snow runs. I mean, a typical snowstorm, no problem, but it's those prolonged 2 day, 10, 15, 20 inchers where we're running ourselves ragged like everybody else in Denver.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Goat grazing. I'm very interested. It's not a thing here. So I've been seeing it more and more, and honestly, it's probably just because I've said it out loud. Now like social media is like feeding it to me, like, and so I'm just watching these plots of land being cleared. I'm like, man, that's so fascinating. So tell me about that. How did that get started? Why did that get started? I know you mentioned about like the clippings and everything, so that's probably the why, but now you're
Mhm.
turning this into a whole division, I'm assuming.
We are, yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about the pros and cons of goat grazing.
I'm sure there's plenty of pros and
There,
cons.
there's plenty of pros and cons. So I guess I could start out with the cautionary side of things and maybe kind of go the con side.
Okay.
I would recommend anybody in the green industry that has the resources and knowledge to be able to tend to and care for livestock, to definitely pursue or at least do your research to see if you'd be a fit for it because the margins are great. The labor burden is pretty low, and as long as you have that knowledge and have the attentiveness to caring for livestock, which in and of itself is different. And again, I grew up on a farm. I grew up with it, so I have that background. But I would highly recommend it if it's a fit. On the downside to things, I mean, you're dealing with livestock, and the attentive side of that versus anything else you're doing in the green industry is going to be very different.
Mm,
It's not for everybody. It takes a high level of attention and care. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of things happening in this grazing world right now that is providing opportunity. So how I got involved in it, I had the goats. Obviously, we're feeding the goats the clippings, supplementing their diet with protein blocks, molasses licks, alfalfa, just so they're getting that great diet. And for us, they're saving us just on dumping costs alone. I mean, they're saving us 5, 6 grand a month. So in and of itself, they're profitable that way. So then I thought, what else can we do with this? Saw it kind of like you as well, just kind of saw it, know that, hey, is this really becoming a thing? Are people really paying farmers to bring their goats to a property and that client is paying them to let those goats eat that? It was surprising to me. obviously, sitting down doing the research into it, understanding, oh yeah, this is a very viable thing. So, I approached it in a way of, all right, I'll just do my research, figure out what people are doing, how they're doing it, and is it viable? Are we a fit? So, kind of checked all those boxes. Then on the flip side of that was, okay, what am I going to do here? Am I going to do what I did with the business? Grow it, go through the trials and tribulations, make the mistakes, and eventually grow it into a viable entity? Or is there another way of doing it? So more into the research side of things. There are various groups out there kind of providing information on how they do it. Then we looked at various programs, and one of those, shout out to Goats on the Go, did some research there, an outfit based out in Iowa. And what they do is they provide opportunities for you to become an affiliate. So this is very different than some, other types of business arrangements. Essentially, you pay a flat fee, you carve out a territory in your area, then they train you. You go to their yearly training, and it's this amazing, super hyper focused. This is how you should run your business, while also understanding that geographic considerations are different. Obviously, how people run their business is different, but here's your training. So I was, like, man, do I want to be a franchise and all that? But that's not what you are at all. You're just basically paying into this organization, a very reasonable rate, going in and getting all that training. And so that was for me the no-brainer. Like, do I want to spend 1 to 2 years learning this, or do I want to spend time with this entity and really take that learning curve and shorten it? So that's where we went with it. And then from there, yeah, the basics of go grazing is, in our part of the world, there are specific needs on the vegetation side. It's fire mitigation, noxious weed control, and then what we call kind of fluvial considerations, where you have these massive drainage areas that are overgrown with weeds. How do you deal with that? Me as a landscaper, sure, yeah, I could roll in with 15 guys and weed whackers and chainsaws and just knock it all down. What that does, sure, that'll clear vegetation. There's obviously the carbon footprint side of things, but there's also the propagation of noxious weeds. I mean, a lot of times these are really invasive weeds. So knocking say a curly dock plant that has tens of thousands of seed pods, knocking that down with the weed whacker, broadcasting that out everywhere, is
Mhm.
very different than having the goats that will go and eat those seed pods and then knock down that plant. And so that's kind of the basics of it. So we kind of went all in this year. So we went from our herd of 25, 30 that were dealing with our waste needs, to a herd now of about 325. So
It's,
we
yeah.
we scaled it as responsibly as
Yeah.
possible. We have the people, we have the land, we have the resources, and we have the system in place now. And then going after contracts, whether residential side, municipal side, government, state, fed, whatever. So our approach and systems in getting contracts at the city, state, county, fed level directly translated from the landscaping green industry into this. So yeah, I mean, it's a great thing for us. The On the flip side of it, I mean, the goats are cool. It's just cool seeing goats. People like that.
Yeah.
I'm not the super guy saying like, hey, we're going all green in the green industry and battery powered everything. That, in my opinion, the technology isn't there, even though Colorado's pushing us to do that next year.
Mhm.
So if it makes sense to bring mowers in and knock down an acre, great. If it makes sense to bring in 100 goats to knock that acre out in 2 days and get paid, hey, that makes sense too. So
Yeah.
that's been our big push. Super exciting. Love it. It's very well received. It's very new. As you said, Florida doesn't have it. Lots of different places don't have it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, why do you think that big change in it being a new thing? Because I mean, honestly, the practice of it is not new. If anything, it's archaic. And
Yeah.
so why do you think this all is it like the quote unquote green push? Like is that it? I mean, there is I'm sure the wow factor. So I mean, from even from a business and marketing perspective, I'm sure there's a lot of opportunity there. But like what goats
Yeah.
and why in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. We as a civilization, a society, humanity has been doing agriculture for over 10,000 years. This isn't a new thing. The kind of going green push, that's not a very, very new thing. I think it's kind of a combination of things. I think on the one side, yep, you have this continued push, eco-friendly stuff. That combined with recent, like legit scientific studies showing the benefits of grazing, these kind of things happening in and around the same time.
Mhm.
And then you have people who, farmers. I, again, grew up in a farming family. It's very Farming is hard. Farming isn't always it certainly isn't the most lucrative thing to do. So you get these really smart, intrepid people that, hey, I have these resources. What can I do with them? How can I kind of build and grow beyond that? And I think it's those three things happening right in the 2023, 4, and 5. Now, granted, there are outfits that have been doing this. Go Grist in Colorado, we've had outfits that have been doing these types of things for 10 or 15 years. Um, so again, kudos to those entities because they've kind of blazed a trail for us, for example, to be able to go in and start doing these things. So I think it's a timing thing, and I think it's just all three of those things came together at the same time. So this thing is really pushing, and again, I keep going to the research side of things. We don't really ever jump into anything without doing that. On the research side, there is tremendous opportunity here for anybody interested in going that route.
Awesome. That's very exciting. I'm really excited to see more on that because I know it's not on your website yet. So
No,
I'm
it's not. We have an Instagram. Goat Foragers is our Instagram. We've
okay.
been, we started doing this. We started in earnest. We started goat grazing side of things about 70 days ago. So we've been doing an Instagram post a day. This is what we're doing. This is how it's doing, befores and afters, all of that stuff. And
So cool.
um, yeah, so it's for us on the contract acquisition side. It's been great. I'll roll into a government mandatory pre-bid meeting or I'll be one of 15 landscapers or lawn care folks, green people there looking around like, all right, we're all bidding on the same thing. On the goat side of things, go to those same things. There might be one or two people there. So, just want to provide information for people out there. Don't want to say, hey, this is proprietary. I'm not going to talk about it. No, there's opportunity there. There's plenty of work to go around.
Amazing. Okay, so I want to do a quick hypothetical here. Let's say you don't have the resources, the connections, even like the funds that you have now. You have to move to a new state. You want to start a new landscaping business up. What would you tell to somebody that's wanting to get into this? What are maybe some mistakes that you made early on that if you hadn't made them, it would have propelled you better? What are your thoughts? Like if you were to have to do all of this over again, where would you start?
Yeah, if I had to start over or I was giving advice to somebody on starting this, all brand new, number one, do your research. So first, understand the market. What does that look like? Look at on the seasonality side of things. Obviously, the mowing season in Colorado is very different than Florida, very different than Minnesota, East Coast, West Coast. Understand those geographic constraints and particulars. Once you have that, then just jump in on the service side of things. In Colorado, super clay rich compacted soils, we're doing aeration twice a year. Is that happening in the area that you're going to be working? Create a standardized list of services that number one, the market wants, and number two, that you can actually do, whether it be from do I have the equipment side of things? An aerator is expensive. Do you have one or not? Are you capable of doing it from a logistical standpoint in that you have the equipment to do it? And number two, have you been trained to do that? Um, Depending on the person going in, what I would recommend if you're super new to it and haven't done it, go get a job. Go work with somebody for a year, understand how that's working, take that information, and then get that education. If you do have the background in it, yeah, that research of what are your standard services going to be, then from there, figure out what your labor burden is, figure out what your projected margins are to dictate what you're going to charge. Obviously, some people will make their pricing in any given area open. A lot of times, those pricings are not as let's just say not as realistic as they in actuality are. So keep that in mind. So standardized service, education, pricing. From there, then take the time and do your branding. Get your domain name, get your website up, get your logo, and whether that's work, ideally you're working with Matt and doing that. If you're not, go get that done because you want to present yourself as a professional entity. I was part of a father and son startup, and it was amazing. And you'll see that. And I kind of started with that. Wasn't the father and son side when I started, but it was a buddy in a truck. But you want to present yourself as professionally as possible. What that's going to do is provide, a standard of work and work ethic to your potential clients. Then, of course, there's the advertising side. Whether you're going the paper route, but certainly if you're going the online route, again, match your guy for that. Hook up with him and get going there. Once you have that online presence, once your advertising is ready to go, you have your equipment, you have your knowledge, then it would be the only reason that that entity would fail in the beginning is you. I think some of the growing pains that I had in all of this process is understanding how expensive labor is. And you got to do it the right way. You got to do W-2 employees. If you do 1099 people that you're hiring and you're telling them where to go and when to go and what to do and you're providing equipment, it's not a 1099 subcontractor. As much as that would be wonderful to save on those taxes, it's going to bite you in the butt. So don't go that route. Great bit of advice I got from another guy that was kind of a mentor to me in the beginning. So go that route. Make sure that was a big shock to me, knowing that, hey, if I'm paying somebody 15 bucks an hour, in reality, the labor burden's like 22 an hour. Keep that in mind as you're rolling forward in those costs. Don't start with a yard. If you have a garage, start in your garage. Scale it up. Get as much money as you possibly can in those early years to work really, really hard and build and grow, get better equipment, more equipment. And really, unless you're, in my personal opinion, unless you're at that 7-figure mark, if you've crossed that threshold, a yard makes sense. If not, run it out of your garage. Obviously, if you're in an HOA or whatever, make sure that it's okay to do that. Well, if not, yeah, outdoor storage. I mean, you can get an outdoor storage unit in Colorado of 150, 200 bucks a month. That's way better than your yard. That's going to be 5, 6, 7,000 a month. So don't go all in on that yet. You go in on things that are direct assets that are benefiting you, and that's your education and that's your equipment. Um, then understand your labor side of things, wait on that yard, continue to prioritize quality and reliability over anything else. We see it all the time in the industry where the market will be doing great and tons of leads are coming in, then all of a sudden that'll slow down a little bit. Why does that slow down? Well, there's a couple of new startups that are coming in. Sometimes those startups do it the right way and they become a legit business in the industry that you can collaborate with and down the line. Other times they can't understand the business and yep, they're charging $20 a yard when you're actually charging double that. Well, that's not a sustainable business model. They'll fall, weather the storm when that happens. And then you become this entity that you should be networking with other individuals. So for me personally, I have a network of 3 or 4 other companies that I sit down and have lunch with them. And sometimes those conversations are a little guarded. Other times I have 2 guys that we're full disclosure. What are you charging for this? How are you seeing this? Having that outlet is so great because running a business is hard. And if you're not going all in on it, you're not doing it right. And when you're going all in on it, it's very stressful. And to talk to somebody in the exact same position as you, I cannot tell you how amazing that is because, oh, I am doing it wrong, or I can tweak it based on this. And maybe you have a little nugget that you can give that other individual that will help them with their business. There's always business out there. So this idea of like, oh, super secret, I'm not talking to them, I'm not working with them, it's ridiculous. How many times I've collaborated on a massive government project where, yeah, I can do it and it's going to take me 2 months, but hey, I got my buddy over here and I can bring him in on a certain cut and I can get this job done in a month because government contracts, you don't get deposits. You're doing a $500,000 job and you're fronting everything. You want that job done perfect. You want it done as quickly as possible. How do you do that? Well, be part of the community. Granted, you're going to get people to tell you to go to hell. If you're trying to make that connection, hey, it's not a person you want a connection with anyway. So work on creating that network as well. And once you have those things in place, keep your nose to the grindstone. Make sure to answer those phone calls and emails as quickly as possible. Prioritize quality over anything else, and you're going to do well.
Well, everybody, that was your 0 to 8-figure landscaping company in a box right there. Like that is that incredible insight there. The one thing that you kept coming back to was the education, the research, doing that. It's super important. It's always staying there. You never want to be just doing the status quo and always just expecting things to always be this way, especially if you're looking to grow. So yes, having that education, taking the time, leveraging the resources, because those resources are everywhere now. You can definitely continue to learn. But yeah, once you become well tuned to not just your industry, not just your services, but also the area in which you serve as well, and your customers. Yeah, I mean, and learn how to apply that knowledge into those the things that you're doing. I mean, yeah, you're going to be so well set up for success, and you're going to very quickly find yourself differentiating from the pack. Because the pack, a lot of times, is people with a truck to starting up. I mean, it's a race to the bottom in this pricing, and you need to separate yourself from that. So it's yes, the professionalism, the education, the research, and really like leaning into it. You really jumped into a lot of super high level things that are the inevitable steps to becoming at least a seven figure, if not even multiple seven figure company. And I share the exact same sentiments in the community, and that doesn't just mean like somebody that can like you can do business with. It means your competitors as well. I've built some pretty great relationships with other digital marketing agencies, specifically in the green industry. It's amazing because yes, there are plenty of things that we're not fully utilizing, they're not fully utilizing, and there's plenty of work. I mean, just obviously, like we're specifically talking about yours is a little more localized, but I mean, we have 660,000 lawn care and landscaping companies in the US. Um, I might work with 100 plus of them, so barely going to scratch that surface. I love connecting with my competition because yes, well, one, as you probably have found out, it can get lonely if you're the only one with these problems and you can't share them with others. So yeah, it's been very refreshing to say like, okay, other people are having these problems too, or other people have had these problems and already resolved them, and then also coming in as a mentor too and saying, hey, I ran into these problems, I resolved them, you haven't yet, happy to help, because there's a lot to giving as well. So I love it. Incredible advice. And really just an incredible conversation. So Brandon, I appreciate you being on here. I know we're kind of wrapping up here on time. So I would love to have you back because there's so many more things that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the introduction of AI into your business because that's coming soon. I want to talk to you about obviously your background in archaeology and being a professor and all that stuff. So and I know that there's still so much like knowledge that you can give to the listener. So I would love to have you back on, but yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, anytime, Matt. Appreciate the opportunity and you bestowing wisdom as well. Love it.
Of course, of course. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for listening. Go and check out Olson Outdoors website. It's olsonoutdoors.com. So pretty easy to find them. You can see what they're doing, obviously doing some incredible things. Follow them. And sorry, what was the handle for the goats on Instagram?
Oh yeah, it'd be Goat Foragers.
Goat Foragers. Okay, so check that out on Instagram. But yeah, just check out what Brandon is doing over there. It's doing some amazing things. Definitely a company that you're going to want to emulate. So again, Brandon, thank you so much for your time. Very, very happy to have spoken with you, and I'm looking forward to continuing working together for months and years to come.
Right on. Thanks, Matt.
Great, thanks.